interrupted. I've answered this question.
He referenced something that you said. For the clarity, yes.
I said that.
Look, hold on.
You mentioned me.
You give opportunity to
precisely. I'm going to grant you all that.
No, Mr.
Because you referenced
the main point, Kabiru said we sat on the 70,000 metric tons. And I'm saying that Kabiru, show us the warehouse where the 70,000 metric tons was warehouse. Show us that warehouse where you saw it. You just come and, yes, go ahead.
All right, so the person just told you they deliver cocoa to the licensed bio company just told you on this platform, if you were listening, told you they deliver those goods are with them. They have not been paid for.
Oh, no,
I just told you. Even if you were not listening, you would have heard him.
Okay. Let me explain. You have heard him. He's told you that it gets delivered in bits. It's not a one-day event. So when he says they delivered, he's not talking about that 70,000. Look, I have here.
What was it?
Mr. Kansi, maybe we should raise Mr. Wisdom Dogby, the MD of
Cocoa Marketing Company.
He says he didn't have the 70,000 in any warehouse. He was here to receive it. And you see, that 70,000 is the difference between the 580,000 they had received, right? And the projected 650,000.
Some of which were actually still on the farm.
Okay. Exactly. So it was yet to come. You come here, you are just misleading citizens. Why? Listen, you lost an election. You are not getting it. You see, we have to keep repeating. You alone, you can't come back to office, right? It's the people in the middle like us, right? Who alternate. We vote for NDC today, then tomorrow we vote for NPP. We in the middle, we are not interested. We've just made a decision. We saw that you misgovern. We said that take your time. Rather support them. You don't know that when you constructively support NDC, that one too, we can in 8 years say that for supporting well, you should also come.
Okay.
So it's also, no, let me show him. So you see, we are all intellectuals. Don't think that every time you have to pull wool over our eyes. Keep pulling wool over our eyes to come to government. It doesn't work that way. Just when the Ghanaian is getting very savvy. So another way is to play a very strong supportive role. What you do, we'll keep saying, you are the deputy MD, so to speak. You've supported these people for this number of years. We think let the deputy also come back into the saddle. It's also a good way. But when we've just thrown you out and you think for the past 1 year, any little thing, you do propaganda, then you reinforce the reasons why we threw you out. Now let's come to the next point. So I'm saying that I have Wisdom Dogbe here. He says, the MD says he didn't have the 70,000 metric tons. You are not in the saddle. And you want to tell Ghanaians that Wisdom Dogbe was sitting on 70,000 metric tons. Between the two, who would we? That's the MD of Cocoa Marketing Company. They do the actual sales.
I know Wisdom, so
and he's asking you that. Did you call him?
Yeah.
You came to have him call him.
Continue.
Let's speak to
it's a sign. Speak to you. I have a rebuttal. So it's okay. I'll give you an opportunity to rebut.
We are dealing with data here. The man who has the data, you've not verified from him, then you are using some sources. Who would we trust? The man who has the data, he is in the saddle. He says he didn't have those 70,000 metric tons. You didn't check with him. I know these are the same kind of bad sources you were using and you did the bad governance. That's the same way. You are not diligent.
Yeah, let's
make that point. This is the same lack of diligence. No, that is it. And that's the price. No. We will know. That's the same lack of diligence.
I want to stick to the issue.
Respond the same way, so it's okay.
When we are talking, I was quiet.
Yes. I'm just alerting you.
Yes, when you get your time. But you see, when you were misled, I just kept quiet because of this.
Yes.
The man you are accusing of sitting on the beans says he didn't have the beans at the time. So between you, who is outside the door, and the one who is inside and in the saddle, in charge of the steer, who would we believe? Maybe raise Mr. Dogbe on the line, so that you show you. And you, Kabiru, today, you must show us the warehouse that had the 70,000 metric tons that you and your Jandam team, you have consistently said, we sat on 70,000. Show us that warehouse.
Tell us where it was to you.
So you cannot pick and choose.
Next point is this. Look, prices have gone down generally in Ghana, right? You see, this same lack of looking at the economy broadly as a whole, and even in law, we are taught that when we are even interpreting a provision, right, we read the provision as a whole, we read the constitution as a whole. Is this a myopia that led them to do bad governance? You are saying that we should take our money and go and cushion cocoa farm. farmers. Look, there is a tape, a video. You see Net2, Dominic Net2, former defense minister, on the floor of parliament, crying that he has his rice locked up because that rice, right? He said over 100,000 I can give to Abdallah to play. The price used to be about 1,000 Ghana. Today the price is about 400. So prices have come down. Okay. So rice farmers are crying. Dr. Zato, very good. How many times did Zato cry here? Maize prices have come down. And so many other prices.
What's the point?
So the point? Oh, it's very clear that prices have come down in other sectors of our economy. And NPP now comes to say we should ignore all these other farmers and take money to go cushion all the cocoa farmers. The very thing that they did, robbing Peter. So you are robbing the poor rice farmer, robbing the poor maize farmer to go and pay the cocoa farmer. So that in the end, it will come back and bite you ass again in the form of DDEP, which killed thousands of citizens. Is that how you run an economy? Is that how you run an economy? Look, as I've said, so you check all the maize farmers. Let's check. So from my data, cocoa farmers are between about 600 and 800,000 farmers, right? So if you look at all the other different farmers, maize, rice, etc., and you compare, you are saying that rob the rest, take care of only cocoa farmers. What kind of economics is that? What kind of myopia? And you know what we'll do? We'll just get back to right where Akufo Addo ended with us, this DDEP and etc. So please, this is your analysis. Me, I'm not finding my way through it. Okay. What is clear to me is that prices came down. These prices, this is not the first time. In 2016, 2017, the price came down. It crashed. But they will tell you that the 2016-2017 crash was supply-driven, all right? So it was a supply that was way too much. But I said this current one we are facing is a demand distraction event. So you see the difference. This current plummeting in cocoa price, they say is a demand distraction. What are they saying? They are saying, look, chocolate manufacturers have decided to reduce the size of chocolate bars. Number two, the additives, the fats, and others, they've decided to use other alternatives such as wafers, etc., instead of cocoa butter. The butter, those are from cocoa.
They're using other alternatives to boost their. But
so the point is that this one is different. This particular cause, because I heard somebody else saying that we saw this price coming. This price plummeting coming, and I'm saying, from what the experts, yes, I'm saying that the experts,
government could have been proactive because there were signs of this situation that it could come. What we experience, if you talk about the supply destruction, we are seeing a lot more cocoa beans production on the world market from other countries, which has now influenced this particular situation. The demand destruction that we saw years ago, between 2022 and 2023, was as a result of the lack of production, which led to the prices soaring to over 10,000. Because when there is, obviously, when there is scarcity, it influences some level of price surge. That is what we saw between 2022, 2023, 2024. Because within that period, there wasn't enough production of cocoa beans. What we are saying now is the supply surge, where you're having a lot more cocoa beans on the world market. So the buyers have a lot more options.
No, that's but they're saying that it's more also of the demand distraction thing, that the buyers are not interested. They are moving, reducing cocoa, the bar sizes, using other ingredients instead of cocoa. They're saying that the current one, from what I checked, they say, look, I have one of the data saying that while the 2016 crash was
data from where?
Supply-driven, JP Morgan. JP Morgan Global Research. This is what they say. While the 2016 crash was supply-driven, the 2025-2026 decline is characterized as a demand distraction event where high prices led manufacturers to reduce cocoa usage, coupled with a market correction from intense speculation. This is JP Morgan research. That's why. So it's a demand distraction event. It's not the supply-driven one we've known in the past. So the person say, we saw it coming. Which one is this? This supply distraction event. Where? These are the researchers. These are the experts on it. These are the experts. It's a demand destruction event, which led where high prices led manufacturers to reduce cocoa usage, coupled with a market correction from intense speculation. That's the thing. So this one is different. So please, some of this, look, we can read, though. We can read. Those days where you can just come, even the fact that you see somebody say lawyer doesn't mean that we don't know. My first degree is in business. I read BSc administration and a lot of economics. So the least thing you say, I'll go and check. I have sources. I can always read. So it's not everywhere you can come. So my last question for you is that today you will have to show us that warehouse where the 70,000 metric tons was and they didn't sell. Until that, I will not take anything you say serious, because let's be very serious. It must be data. Your debate must be data driven. Data driven. The man in the saddle, I'm challenging you today that please raise Wisdom Dogwe on the line. Let him face Kabiru.
We'll get that clarification. Very quickly.
I spoke.
Hold on. Gentlemen,
so I have to rebut the claims you made.
Hold on.
That's only fair.
You go to the substantive rebuttal.
Gentlemen, hold on.
It's a different
Let's go. You are saying that I have to rebut. Hold on. Allocate the time. We can go on.
Professor Bobkin said a number of things which
I have to respond to. He said a number of things.
But the point you want to make, is it specific to the 70,000?
Yes, it's specific.
If that, I'll come to you quickly on that.
One, nowhere did anyone tell you that Cocoa Board, there is some warehouse, it is sitting there. You are now asking me to go to the warehouse and show you. I'm not privy to Cocoa Board warehouses. But this is the sources of that particular number. One, licensed buying companies tell them that they have produced with cocoa, which they have supplied and they have not been paid.
Yes.
Which is part of the cocoa agreement for the year. That is one. Two, cocoa farmers agitate. And you have seen that they have supplied cocoa to Cocoa Board. I'm using Cocoa Board generic because probably it is not the cocoa marketing company, which the way is the one in charge. To Cocoa Board, for which they are not paid. Who has the goods? Because if I give you my goods and I'm set to get money for it, and you've not given me the money, and your explanation is that you have, out of the cocoa contract, you've supplied outstanding of some 60 to 70,000 tons, and that you've disposed everything, the goods must actually be somewhere. So you can't then tell me that I have to go and show you the warehouse when the numbers don't add and the farmers tell you, I've given you your good. You've not denied that I've given you your good. Then why do you then tell me that I have to come and show you? No, wait. He cannot deny. They have a lot of things they have denied which have turned out not to be true. So I'm telling you that if this there, is it telling the farmers that the farmers have lied? And that when the government was looking for money to pay the cocoa farmer, the government was looking for money to pay for non-existent produce.
No, it's a 70,000.
What is the government paying for? Listen. If Cocoa Board takes produce and go and sell, they come back and pay the farmers.
Okay.
Simple as that. For the produce that they have not paid, they cannot pay the farmers. So if a farmer is having outstanding money with you, you cannot say that, there's no produce and there's 70,000, someone should go and show you a warehouse. That is actually the Jandam analysis that you are making, and you are now trying to make people believe that people are doing Jandam analysis. In the case, rollover was another issue that they talk about. When we came to office,
the
330,000 you are talking about, as of January 2025, 195,000 had been delivered. As of January, but you still come to this particular platform and say that 330,000 tons were undelivered. So subtract 195 from 330, even if that number is, that's 133. Compare that with what they left us in 2026 when they were rollover of 193,000. So rollovers have been part of contracting. And because if you don't have cocoa production doing well, because supply is reducing, you have to roll over some of the produce to the next year. So don't make it look like rollover was something new in 2025, 2016, 2017, or even this year, 2024, 25, and that for the first time people are doing rollover. I remind you that in 2016, there was a rollover of 193,000 tons.
So the 70,000 that you talk about is big. Your source is the LBCs.
Yes.
And
the farmers.
And the farmers.
Yes.
The
and
LBCs,
even
fortunately, they are with us. So and
I can even read. I can even read this article.
So are you done with that? Yes. Let's done.
No, yes. I can read further sources. Look,
no.
No, if you are minded, I'll give you that. If you are minded, I'll give you that. So it's not something that we can split hairs over. It's not something that we can split hair over.
Which article are you reading?
So this is an article about, let me give you the author of that article, Emmanuel Bruce.
From where?
Where is it?
Oh no, hold on.
You are saying for instance,
look, was this published?
Alfred.
Are you leaving the article?
Alfred, no, I'll attend to Africa. I want to set certain basis right, and that whatever source you get, and you believe that source is what document has Emmanuel Addo given you to show that contract were over except that we should believe him. So Emmanuel Addo is as same as any other person. Wisdom Dogbe is as I'm saying Wisdom Dogbe is as good as any Ghanaian. And I'm telling you that you cannot take Wisdom Dogbe words over what is.
Thank you.
And it could be the CEO, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And look, but Martin, it's not on me on this platform, because for me, whatever trenches you are dredging into, I'm ready to follow. But so it's not on me.
Today we
analysis and that kind of myopic analysis cannot become to me. So for me, we cannot go on that route. We can actually do this discourse dispassionately and intellectually, and that people will be given time to prove their facts.
Good.
I'll come to that. Now, people will give him time to prove. He will have his day. Felix will have his day, and I'll give him a fact, provided that any single thing that you want, you give him time to produce him and justify
That's
that.
why I keep coming to you about this 70,000 that you talk about. If you have ended on that point, yes, quickly.
There was no 70,000 anywhere that Kokobo has sat on. I have explained to you that because of the model that is being applied now, the purchases are dependent on the willingness of buyers to finance the purchase. So LBCs are the ones who buy the cocoa from the farmers and then give it to Kokobo to sell through their marketing agency. The LBCs sometimes pay finance, or they buy the produce on credit. No, please, you are the The LBCs sometimes pay finance, or they buy it on credit. When Kokobo pays, they come and pay the cocoa farmers. So the crop season was in session. They were buying as they should. And the buyers, who are the ones providing the financing, had indicated that they were going to buy 580,000 metric tons, which Kokobo had. There was an additional 70,000 tons that they needed to buy. When it got to that time, the buyer said, no, we won't buy it at the price you are offering, because we are getting it cheaper in other places.
Yes.
So that is where the problem started. But once Kokobo did the reduction, the producer price review committee did the reduction, the people were willing to buy, and that's how come now those beans have been evacuated and they are being paid for. So this claim that Kokobo decided that we have 70,000, we will sit on it until the price rises, is not true. It's not borne out by any evidence. That is what that must be established. Now, the other issue that needed to raise, that he made some claims in his initial, with your complete for. You see, the NPP and Kpebu are rankled anytime you mention the state of the economy. But you see, whether you like it or not, that abysmal, horrific performance between 2017 and 2024 will eternally remain a part of NPP's history and Ghana's history. It is not possible for it to be wished away. We are not going to give the NPP a bouquet of flowers and pour myrrh and frankincense on them for destroying the Ghanaian economy. And the only way that you measure success by the NEC government is to see how far we have come. And how do you see how far we have come if you don't know where you are coming from? So anytime we talk about the state of the country, they say we should fix it. After we have fixed it, the incontrovertible evidence on the ground is that almost every indicator is better now than it was under the NPP. So if you wanted evidence that in the last year we have gone back to brass tacks and we have done what has to be done to improve the economy, it exists. But it is fact, indubitable fact, that they left the economy in the worst shape possible. Look, DDEP is the harshest and worst economic policy undertaken by any government. Alfred, in all of economic analysis, the worst indicator is debt default. The moment you say that I have taken your money and I cannot pay, that is the lowest point in economic management. And before this, it had never been done. It had never happened in Ghana's history that we default on our debt. Agyapong said, yentia. But this one, yen to mean tia, it means that they didn't have the money to pay. And that's how come the World Bank had to come in, hold our hands to go and beg creditors to take haircuts. Now, I see a desperate attempt to do some equalization between the DEP and the cocoa matter. You see, they are two separate matters. What happens in the cocoa? Somebody is selling a commodity. That commodity is sold for a certain price. So when government through Cobalt takes it, we take the price and give them a share of that market price. Then the rest is used to take care of other players in the sector. That is all it is. So the principle that you can give somebody more than what the price is sold for is untenable economic management. When they were in power, they were taking 10,000 Ghana cedis a bag and giving the cocoa farmer 3,000 Ghana cedis, which was just 30%. We said that no matter at whatever world market price we come to meet it, we will give you 70%. Now we are doing 90%. But in the case of DDP, this is what had happened. You went on the market and told people that lend me your money. When you lend me your money, I will pay you this amount of interest. And then at a certain time, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, I will pay you back the principal. In other words, the money you lent to me. You mismanage this economy, overspend in an election year, incur a deficit, which then causes investors to lose confidence in you. They pull out their investment. Your currency crashes. Nobody wants to touch you. Inflation rises. Hardships go through the roof. And everybody is suffering. Instead of you to go to the IMF, you say you are a proud people, so you won't go. And you dilly-dally for almost a year. The economy crashes further. Then you go to the IMF in an ambulance, and they impose conditionalities on you. And they say that the only way they can come in and go and tell creditors to forgive you and take a haircut is if you say you are bankrupt and you can't pay. So you declare debt default. You do what we call debt restructuring. Now, Alfred, I tell you that, yes, you lent me money. But the interest, instead of 20%, I'll pay you only 5%. And then your principal that you are expecting next year, I'll pay you in 10 years. That was devastating for Ghanaian families. 1.3 million bondholders suffered that. And then, to cap it, pensioners who had worked their entire lives and kept money aside for a rainy day, which had been used to purchase bonds, you say you won't pay. So they have to go and picket the finance ministry for many months, including the chief justice that you yourself appointed. Exactly. If things were not that bad, how does the chief justice that you yourself appointed become so desperate as to join protest to demand payments? And yet when we say that this is what has happened, you are saying that we should fix the economy, which we have fixed. Alfred, when we came in, and Professor Bokpen was talking about what he believes is an aggressive strengthening of the city. Look, there's, yes.
Forgive me.
So let me,
the next conversation.
So let me just
I wanted to respond to what is the point he made about you government not being proactive.
No, what he meant was that this decision should have been taken earlier. Exactly.
Yes.
The decision to reduce the farm gate price so that we can evacuate the cocoa that is left. That is what I believe he was referring to. It is a fair criticism. Maybe we should have, but perhaps, of course, you also know that it is a matter that has to be deliberated upon carefully. And the decision arrived at. So it's not an easy decision to take, but it is a necessary decision to take. But we've taken it. Right. And since we did it, the effects have been clear. The cocoa is being paid for. Billions of Ghana cedis have gone in the last few weeks. So there's no dispute about that. But as for the economy, look.
So that leads us to the next phase of the conversation.
There is no.
We are moving from.
Yes. No. When you finish, when you have your time.
If we've got to stay on, because you said some things that have been responded.
Of course. When you have your time, you can always respond. You see, again,
to the next phase of the conversation.
Alfred, when you get your time, you can reply to anything you want. That's what I'm doing. No. You understand me? When you get to, I'm only in my submission.
I agree. I'm just letting you know. Just letting you know.
Even I would insist that he gives you the time.
The aggressive strengthening of the city.
Yes, I'm coming to that.
As we saw from 15 CD 70 to now 10 CD 78 pesos thereabout.
Kabiru's boss, Dr. Bawumia, held a lecture at Central University. That is where he said if the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rates will expose you. But he said one other thing that people tend to gloss over. He says for an economy like ours, the most important economic indicator is the exchange rate. So how can the leader of the party say this? And then the members of the party say that now the exchange rate doesn't matter. Yesterday, Afenyo was saying that we don't eat exchange rates. Look, because our economy is export dependent. Because our economy, and what is the biggest contributor of inflation in Ghana? Isn't it exchange rate volatility? Yes. Because of our dependence on export, which is a regrettable situation and which needs to be cured. But it takes time. It's a medium to long-term activity. exchange rate volatility has historically proven to be devastating for Ghanaian households. Look, when they took over power, the cedi was just around 4 cedis to $1. At a point in 2022, it went to 17 cedis on the forex market. By the time they left, it was around 16 cedis on the forex market, around 14, 15 cedis on the interbank market. It was a devastating decline in our currency. The effect was that every single item in this country went up in terms of prices.
Right.
What that does is that it increases inflation. That's how come we had 54.1% of inflation, which is hyperinflation. You went to the market and bought an item at this price. By evening, the price has gone up. When that happens, it eats into what you call disposable income. In other words, the money that you have to spend on yourself. And when that happens, it imposes suffering and hardships. And what we went through under the NPP has never been seen in recent Ghanaian memory. It is the worst economic situation in recent Ghanaian memory. Now, what caused it? Often, they say that, oh, President Mahama has gone to Harvard to say that COVID, it is not true. Look, let me disclose here. I was part of those who drafted that speech. So I have it on my computer. I can pull it for you.
So he never said that?
President Mahama said that. Listen.
Hold on.
President Mahama said, of course, there's no dispute that COVID affected every country.
Relax.
Even America and everybody was reeling.
Right.
But in Ghana's case, it was underlying macroeconomic mismanagement that exacerbated our situation. And if you want to know that, you do what you call a comparative analysis with our neighbors. There was no country in Sub-Saharan Africa that had the sort of economic indices we had. Our deficit was 15%. Look, COVID struck in 2019, if I'm not mistaken, right? 2019.
Yes.
The 2020 budget, which Ken Ofori Atta read in November 2019, he said they would do a deficit of 5%. But when COVID struck, in July of 2020, by which time we had had a full handle on COVID and knew its effect and everything, he went back to Parliament. In fact, at that time, we had even done the lockdown and eased it because COVID had eased substantially. He went back to Parliament and said that because of COVID, it will affect our finances. So he was raising the deficit target to 11%. No, 10%, I think. By 2020 December, after the elections, they had done a 15% deficit. So it is not that they went into that election not anticipating the effects of COVID. They themselves had gone to revise the budget estimates in order to accommodate the effects of COVID. But what happened was that because there was an election, they got into reckless mood. Look, government's primary duty during COVID was to ensure that it did things to stop the spread of the disease. And then specific vulnerable groups who were affected were catered for. So when government did the lockdown, people who were traders, whose livelihoods depend on daily economic activity, government shared food for them, did they not?
Right.
In the space of 2 to 3 weeks, they had lifted it. And so people went back to basics and were trading and earning income. They were going about sharing money from confetti from the national coffers. I was contesting election in AAK. People who were not business owners or engaged in any form of business were receiving so-called business support. 5,000 cedis, 2,000. Indeed, they are former, I think she's still perhaps their deputy Northern Regional Chairperson. She's a woman, Felicia Tete or something.
Yes, that's the name.
She said that they gave each executive about 170,000 Ghana cedis, regional executive, and then gave constituency executives 100,000 Ghana cedis. If you share money from the national kitty like that, how are you not going to incur this sort of deficit? So they didn't need to do more beyond ensuring that we had vaccines and that we had a healthcare system that was robust and operating. And specific areas where they were, for instance, teachers, nurses who were not going to school or who were not going to the hospital. The truth is that in the year, we had programmed to pay them anyway. So paying them their salary while they were sitting at home was not a variation from what had been budgeted for. So it was not going to impose any additional burden on the coffers. You understand the point I'm making? But it was recklessness that led to that situation. And that recklessness dovetailed into suffering that is unparalleled in Ghana's history. And the biggest problem was the lack of financial discipline. Their inability to say that, look, I have budgeted for this thing. I am not going to yield to pressure, to cave in, to destroy, because the effect of yielding is catastrophic, which is what we all saw. What they did then was to build a comical artifice around the then vice president. And he went on the campaign platforms and insisted,
comical artifice.
I'm coming. What I mean is this. They project him beyond what he truly was. Look, they tell us that he brought what? Gold for reserve. It was novel. It was his idea.
Yes.
And that's
one of the issues that
so let me respond to it.
Raised to. If you could hold on to...
Don't forget.
Don't hold on to... Mr. Wizondogbe is joining us on the telephone.
Oh, okay. Well, okay.
That's okay.
So why is it okay? So, Ahmed,
for me, I'm very happy.
For consistency...
Hold on.
So when you do...
For consistency...
as well, please.
For consistency...
So I sent you a link.
So when you finish, you come back, I finish, and then he can...
Yes.
No, when you finish, then we have to say, we all have a bite on it, because it's responding to me. So I'm not sure. Yeah,
you will. I mean, it's a point that you made. Which
you let your production also project what I sent you.
Which is what's the article you're referring to?
Yeah. Randy said they had 580,000.
No. You are not. I'm saying that you have the article, okay. So please refer to it. Yes. What Randy said and what he's going to say. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Like and share the video. You can also drop your comment. Please don't forget to subscribe. Click on the bell to turn on the notification.